Movement is healing. In some ways, this is the core of the Ashtanga Yoga primary series. I'm Joseph Armstrong, and this is an introductory lecture to help you understand a little bit better the history, philosophy, and physical underpinnings of Ashtanga Yoga. In Sanskrit, the primary series of Ashtanga is called Yoga Chikitsa, and this literally translates to yoga therapy. The sequence helps us liberate the spine, keep our mind calm, and our body healthy. The word yoga itself is known to mean connect or sometimes union, and it helps us connect a couple things. You might think of it as connecting mind and body, but you might also think of it as the connection between spirit and God, whatever God may be to you. Yoga is a spiritual, not religious practice, and it can be applied to whatever your personal cosmology may be. The roots of the practice are as old as mankind, and it started out as an oral tradition that was passed down through the generations. At some point, a sage named Patanjali wrote down these sutras in his book, the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. His book, the Yoga Sutras, is an easily memorized collection of 196 aphorisms. And the very first of these Yoga Sutras is simply Yoga Anustasanam, now the teachings of yoga. So this simple sutra is filled with a lot of meaning, not any time before, but now. It begs the question, why now? What brought us to this moment? So I think that if we reflect on our lives, we can all come up with some storylines that brought us to our practice. In my personal experience, it was a long history of drug abuse and addiction. But I think that if you reflect on your own story, you'll be able to find the reasons that brought you to this practice today. But no matter what your personal story is, yoga is a powerful practice for looking at the question of who am I and why am I here? Modern Ashtanga Yoga, as taught by Sharat Joyce, is based in the teachings of Krishnamacharya. They share with us an 8-limbed path, of which the postures you're familiar with are only one limb. There are 7 others that deal with more subtle practices of meditation and pranayama. This is breath work. But we begin with the body because it is more easily understood. For instance, if I tell you right now, make your mind still, that might seem sort of abstract and complicated. But what if I tell you, make your body still? For many of us, that's a much easier proposition. Ashtanga gives us some tools to help find this stillness in the body. First, it works with Vinyasa. So this simply means that each movement is connected to one breath. So if you were to just hold your arms straight out to the side, and on an inhale, reach your arms up, and then on an exhale, lower your arms down, you've done Vinyasa. The connection of breath and movement helps to set in place the meditative underpinnings of the practice. To further aid us, we use the Tristana method. So the Tristana method is composed of 3 points of interest. The first of these points is the breath itself. The second of these points is the gazing point, or the focus of the eyes. And the third of these points of interest is the alignment of the body, or the pose. So the breath in Ashtanga Yoga is deep and resonant, and through the nose only. So a good way to sort of have an experience of what the breath should sound like is to imagine you're fogging a mirror. So if you hold your hand up in front of you and pretend it's a mirror that you want to clean, you can join me in this and say, and then just do that again. And now doing the same thing, but through the nose. So seal the lips tight. So this resonance is made by contracting the muscles around the voice box. And you can use your fingers to help understand what this contraction is like. So if you touch the tip of your two fingers together and you imagine the vocal cords squeezing together to the center and allowing less air to pass through. There's a sort of friction that's created as the vocal cords tighten into the center. This breathing with sound is helpful in a couple ways. First of all, that contraction in the throat creates a little friction, which creates a little heat. And this heat is very good for loosening up the body. Second of all, the sound gives us something to focus on. So when we give the breath sound, it gives the mind a place to sort of hold on to. It gives the breath a texture. The second point of Tristana method is the gazing point, or just where you're looking. In Ashtanga Yoga, we have a number of preset gazing points. So for instance, if ever your arms are reached above your head, your gaze is going to be straight up towards the thumbs. Generally, when you're twisting, the gaze is just going to be over to the side. When you're in down dog, the gaze is going to be towards the belly button. Sometimes in some bodies, we'll find that there's a pain associated with moving the head in a certain way. So when this happens, we just adjust the drishti. The point is not so much that you must lock your eyes on this place or else. It's just that setting the eyes one place helps to increase the concentration and increase the focus. So if your eyes are darting all around the room, so is your mind. Whereas if your eyes are focused one place, again, so is your mind. The third part of the Tristana method is the actual alignment of the body. So there are a few different components involved in this alignment. First of all, there's the pose itself. So if you're in triangle pose, that is one posture. Your legs are going to be at this specific triangle shape that gives the posture its name. Setting the body in one place and seeking stability in that place is yoga. To sort of help us lock this stability into place, another component that we work with are the bandhas. And there are a couple different bandhas that you would want to have awareness on. The first one is Uddiyana Bandha. So it's here in the region of the belly. And one way to begin to feel this bandha is to take your fingertips and find the edge of your rib cage here and sort of curl your fingers under the rib cage and push in and up. Now suction your navel back towards the spinal column and try to pull the belly in and up under the rib cage. This suction inward, the navel towards the spine, that's Uddiyana Bandha. Now, if you crawl your fingers down towards your belly button and then just a couple fingers below that and push in, this is the real root of your Uddiyana Bandha. It starts down low towards the pelvis. So from there, pull the belly in and then up under the rib cage. This should create a sense of lightness and lift in the body. The other bandha that I hope you'll understand today is your Mula Bandha. So the most easy way to understand where this bandha is placed is to tighten the pelvic floor as if you were peeing and cutting off the flow of urine there. So this is the space right between the genitals and the anus. You have to contract the muscles there and you'll feel the pelvic floor lifting up inside of the body. Now, when you pull up on the pelvic floor and in on the belly simultaneously, there is the possibility of these two bandhas coming together and joining so that there's a sense of control deep inside of the core. These three components of the Tristana method are sometimes called the great stabilizer. They can have a powerful effect on the mind and body, guiding us towards a happy balance of effort and ease, both in our practice and maybe also off of the mat. So yoga is a living tradition that is growing and changing through the generations. Today, the practice is centered in Mysore, India. That's where our teacher Sharat Joyce has his shala. Those of us who are authorized to teach Ashtanga Yoga travel there yearly to study with him and do our daily practice. Under Sharat's guidance, we come to understand better what it is to be a seeker in this lineage. And it's very important that we travel there to the source so that we can have a very authentic experience of what it is to practice Ashtanga Yoga. So in order to practice with Sharat, you need to first of all spend 2 months practicing with one of his authorized teachers. And it's easy to find one of those. They're in most of the big cities. And if you check out the website for his shala in Mysore, you'll find a list of authorized teachers that you might practice with. If that's impossible for you right now, then there are courses like this. So I'm glad you're here with me today. I hope that you enjoyed this series on Ashtanga Yoga. We're going to have 4 guided practices that build you up from sun salutations into standing poses, and then into some closing poses and a final rest. I'd like to welcome you to this family. I want you to remember that you are the latest in a very long line of students and seekers that go way back through the generations. Our teachers have sent us these practices, and they're a real gift to help us better understand the world in general and our place in the world. I'd like to invite you to make a commitment to your practice today. You can start with these classes and maybe just a few days a week. And if you find that you fall off the wagon, don't worry about it. The important thing is that you just keep coming back. Remember that you can start over at any time. So take a deep breath, go get on your mat, and see where it takes you.